I recently listened to this book and thought, man, I really wish I would have read this book before I started my own business. So I, again, failed to secure a guest for the merchandise podcast for this week. So the plan for today is to start a new thing called Randy's Book Club. I'm just kidding. Probably won't be a thing that we do on a regular basis, but for today, since we don't have a guest, I'm just going to talk about a book that I recently listened to. And this book was recommended by a friend. And like I said in the intro, I really, really wish I would have read this book before I started my own business. And here's why. I had the wrong idea of how I should approach business, especially for, just starting out. There's a lot of things that you don't know when you start a business. And when you first start, you don't think the right way a lot of times. And that's why I started this podcast. Our slogan is mind your own business. And that's just a play on getting in the right mindset in order to be successful in business, if that makes sense. Anyway, so I had the wrong mindset about my prospective clients. I thought that they were the reason that they weren't buying from me. And believe me, when you're trying to run a business, when you're trying to start a business, and you're trying to move that business forward, having the wrong mindset makes it very, very difficult, if not impossible, to move your business forward. So it's very, very important to get in the right frame of mind. So I thought that all my prospective clients, I thought that they were the ones that needed to change their thinking about dealing with me, about purchasing my services. So looking back, this was my situation. I had no track record when it came to commercial videography. So I had got started making, and if you don't know, which you probably do, but if you don't, in 2022, I started a video production business. Okay. I had been filming for about 3 years up to that point, but almost the only thing that I had filmed was hunting videos for YouTube. Okay. And so when it came to creating commercial videos, I had absolutely no track record to back me up. And that's not necessarily a problem that would keep me from being successful in a video production business. But one thing that really, really held me back was I was bent on charging high prices for my services. I had this mindset of I'm trying to set healthy boundaries so these clients don't take advantage of me, right? I didn't want to get ripped off. I knew what I thought I was worth, and I wasn't willing to take any less than that. And that just was not a good mindset to try to move myself forward. And I think that if I would have read this book before I started my business, it would have helped me get the right things straight in my mind. Getting those things straight in your head before you start a business is going to help your longevity when it comes to business. It's going to help your happiness, and it's definitely going to affect your ambition. And so the book that I'm talking about is this book right here. It's called The Go-Giver. The authors are Bob Burg and John D. Mann. And basically, one of the main reasons why I loved this book was because it was a business book that was written in story format. And for some reason, that spoke to me so much better than a lot of business or self-help books are written. It's not just a bunch of facts getting thrown at you. It's actually a story to go along with it and to illustrate the points that are being made in the book. And basically, the main gist of the book is there's 5 laws that you need to follow in order to have stratospheric success, is basically the way that they describe it in the book. So the first law is your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than what you take in payment. And in the book, one of the guys that is teaching how to have stratospheric success, they call him the chairman, He said the more successful a person is, the more they will want to share their secrets with others. And I think that was a little piece of advice that I really, really needed when I was first starting my business. Because with the way the world is nowadays, and we have the internet and all this stuff going on, there's a lot of people on the internet that would love to teach you whatever you want to learn about. There is plenty of online coaches. And if you haven't seen ads for online coaches, like, where have you been? Have you been living under a rock? Maybe. Anyway, one thing that I think to remember when you go looking for a coach or a mentor is the more successful a person is, the more they will want to share their secrets with others. And so if somebody is charging you a big price tag to share their secrets with you, I would be very, very careful with that. I'm not saying don't buy from them. I'm just saying be careful. Another point that was made was how a lot of people, and this included me when I first started my business, I was so focused on what I was going to get out of a business transaction. And the book says successful people keep their eyes on what they are giving, and that's what gives them their success. Okay? And so, like with me, I was so focused on the big payday that I was going to get. That I was going to go out there and I was going to get my bag. I was going to make sure I got all the money that I could squeeze out of clients, right? And I wasn't so focused on providing the absolute best product or best service that I could, or that was within my abilities. And so I did not have the right focus. And there was a quote that I listened to recently. It was a guy on YouTube, and his YouTube channel, I believe, is called Nero's Knowledge. I'll link it in the show notes below. But basically, he said the mirror doesn't smile before you do. And so you have to provide all of the value that is within your ability before you're going to start getting paid what you think that you're worth. And I did not have that mindset when I came in to starting and running my own business. Another thing that the chairman explained in this book was you don't get what you want, you get what you expect. So what do you expect out of life? I've heard this said another way. Somebody else basically explained it like, life will give you exactly what you settle for. So if you don't like your circumstances, maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's a job, maybe it's your money, maybe it's all those things. If you don't like it, well, then you have to change it. And just remember, life will give you exactly what you settle for. So the reason that you don't have as much money as you want right now is because you've settled for that amount of money. And if you were really, really ambitious about making as much money as you want, you would be chasing that every single day, and you would work at it until you found it. In the chapter where they talk about the first law of stratospheric success, which is the law of value and providing more in value than what you take in payment, here is a quote that really, really stood out to me. A restaurant owner was explaining how he keeps his restaurant so full, and his restaurant always had a line, and he was always very, very successful in his restaurant. And this is what he said: a bad restaurant provides just enough food and service to justify the amount of money that it charges the customer. A good restaurant strives to give the most quality and quantity for the money it takes. However, a great restaurant strives to defy imagination. Its goal is to provide higher quality of food and service than any amount of money could ever pay for. And I think that if you are going to start a business, or maybe you're running a business and you're struggling a little bit, I think that focusing on providing a product or a service that is higher quality and higher service than any amount of money could ever pay for, I think that it's only a matter of time before you find stratospheric success. So the second law of stratospheric success in this book is the law of compensation. And that law is your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. And it seems fairly elementary to say something like that, but if you aren't good at doing business, or if you're not good at doing sales, if you're not actually sold on the product that you're providing to people, then like how much are you going to be out there actually trying to help other people with your product or service or sell that thing? And somebody told me one time, um, you can't actually, the number of people that you can help is directly tied to the number of people that buy from you. And I know that that's maybe not 100% true, and there might be some nuances there. But I think that if you truly believe that you are helping people with your product or service, then sales is just going to be something that you will accept and something that you will just go ahead and do, because in your mind, the right mindset is to think, well, I'm actually helping people. I'm lifting people from one state of being to the next state of being with my product or service. So there is one character in the chapter about the law of compensation that they call the CEO. And the mindset that the CEO had to break through was the mindset that there are people that get rich and then there are people that do good. And those things are not always mutually exclusive. If we, like I said before, if we truly believe in our product or service and that we're lifting people from one state of being to the next state of being with whatever we're offering or whatever we're doing for people, then there is an opportunity to make money as well as give our services and help people in their current situation. Another thing that the CEO said is being broke and being rich are both decisions. It just comes down to what story you are telling yourself. And that's really, really tapping into like the beliefs that you have and the beliefs that actually dictate a lot of your life, because a lot of your decisions are made by your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind is operating off of beliefs, your beliefs. And the majority of those beliefs came to us, or we established those beliefs between the ages of 1 and 7. And so it would be a very, very, very good exercise to reflect and look at like what story you're telling yourself and about your business and about your prospective clients. Check that story every day and make sure you're telling yourself the correct story. The third law is the law of influence. And that law is your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. So your influence grows when you put others' needs and interests first, building a reputation of trust and goodwill. This is where I think like where a lot of online coaches fall short, because I don't think that they dive deep enough, or at least this has been my experience, because I have paid some online coaches and it hasn't always gone well, you could say. But I think that the influence they had, how would you say it? They had a lack of influence in my life and in my business because I didn't actually think that they were putting my interests first or my needs first. And they didn't actually get to know what my situation was, what my mindset was, and how we could change that and how we could get that on the right track. In the chapter on influence, they talk about networking. And basically, they said a good network is people that know you, like you, and trust you. They might never buy a thing from you, but they will always have you in the backs of their mind. They are people who are personally invested in seeing you succeed. That's because you think the same way about them. And this is such an understated superpower in today's world. Connecting with people on a deeper level than just business. Getting into people's world and understanding exactly what's going on in their lives and in their minds, and knowing and doing your best to listen and to understand instead of just always trying to sell them something. That is a superpower in today's world. So one point that they made in the book is they said stop keeping score, and also don't go for the win-win situation. They were saying when you base your relationship on who owes who what, that's not being a friend, that's being a creditor. But if you put someone else's interest in front of your own, your interest will always be taken care of. And that is something that I wish I would have got through my head back when I started my business. To dive in, to deepen that relationship with the prospective clients, to get into their world, to know exactly what was going on and what way that I could help them, and going ahead and helping them and not being such a stickler on price. I think that if I could have been successful in helping a few people earlier on, I really think that my word of mouth marketing, I guess you would call it, would have been a lot better. There was one mindset in there that I really wanted to touch on as well. And they said that money, position, and history of outstanding accomplishments do not give you influence. Influence gives you all of those things. And also one phrase that they have in there, it's just a 2-word phrase, and that is that givers attract. And that goes along with the title of the book, The Go-Giver. Now, the 4th law of stratospheric success is the law of authenticity. The most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself. Again, I genuinely wish that I would have tapped into this a lot more. Naturally, I like to joke around. I like to keep things fairly light, but that's not exactly the way that I approached business. I did do that some in some of my marketing. And if you follow my business on Instagram or any of that, you might have seen some little skits or little mini movies or short films, I guess you could call them. Some of those that I put together, I tried to add some jokes and some funny stuff into there. But for the most part, I tried to be professional. I tried to word my emails professionally. I tried to talk to people professionally. And it was just so far out of my natural state of being. And I know that there is times that you need to step out of your natural state of being and practice something. I realize that, but one thing that I really, really, really worried about, looking back on it now, one thing that I really worried about was I didn't want people to know how much I didn't know. And when one of my earlier podcasts with Rick Saffiels, we were talking about imposter syndrome, and he said that one thing that he's just done throughout all of his careers, he has never tried to act like he knows something or can do something that he doesn't know how to do. He's never been posing, and that just gives him confidence. And I think that is probably one of the best things that you can do, is just be very, very honest with where you're at. Be very, very open with the people that you want to work for. Don't be a poser. And I really, really think that that's going to help with imposter syndrome. The 5th law of stratospheric success is the law of receptivity. And this law is the key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving as well. And they talk a lot about like lungs and about your heart, how that, sometimes, when your heart retracts, the only way that it can retract again is by opening back up. And the same with your lungs. And so, your lungs and your heart, they're doing giving and receiving on a regular basis. And they talked about the relationship between people as well. In every relationship, somebody is giving and also somebody is receiving. And if somebody is not open to receiving, then there is no place for the other person to be giving. And so just being open and being ready to not take things, but to accept things that other people want to give to you, that is going to actually help you be a better giver as well. And when I look back at my own experience and like, how exactly does this apply to me? I really think that it applies to the part of other people paying me compliments. A lot of people would pay me compliments, would maybe comment on talent or on skills or things that I've done. And I never actually took those to heart. I never actually received them. I never actually believed them. And I kept telling myself a different story, like we referenced earlier on in the episode. But I kept telling myself like a different story. And that story that you tell yourself in your head and you recite and you start to believe, then you start making decisions based off of that false story in your head. And this story, a lot of times, is way different than the story that other people are telling about you. Okay? And I just think that it is very, very important for people to accept compliments, to take them to heart, and you know what? Recite them to yourselves. Recite them to yourself once or twice a day. And just start to believe those things and start to embrace those things. Embrace your strong points. Embrace the natural gifts and abilities that God has given you. Anyway, in summary, these 5 laws aim to shift the focus from self-centered goals to creating genuine value for others, which ultimately leads to fulfilling and sustainable success. That's all that I have about this book. You can go get it on Amazon. I will leave a link to it in the show notes below. Let me know. Did you like Randy's book club? And also, is there somebody that you would like to see on the merchandise show? Leave that down in the comments. I would love to hear about that, and I would love some suggestions on guests for the show. And if I can't find more guests, then I guess you'll just be seeing a whole lot more of me. I don't necessarily plan on stopping doing this anytime soon. And so it's either let's find some guests or you're just going to be seeing a lot of me. And I don't necessarily know if you guys want that. Maybe you do. Leave it down in the comments. Let me know. Anyway, I hope you guys had a good time here. I hope I could help out, maybe shift some mindsets, maybe give you some good things to think about for the week. And I just hope that you guys have a wonderful day. I will see you around. If you liked the video, please subscribe either here or on one of our podcast channels. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and now we're on LinkedIn as well. And so we're really building this thing out. We're really going to go all in on this thing, and we're going to build a really, really strong community around entrepreneurship, mindset, and making people healthier and happier. We're going to help them mind their own business, get in a healthy mindset to mind their own business. Anyway, I'll stop rambling. Thank you guys. Have a great day.